Shoot's own father has to use Livewire to keep him from banging the fireplace? This is spoilers.
I heard about
So,
that.
what is Livewire?
Is it electric?
I was thinking electric fence, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. The mists of Shoot go on and on. But anyway, I am your host, Stevie. Welcome to Spoilers. Tonight, we are breaking down the finest of all wrestling movies, Matthew Modine's peak performance, Vision Quest. So put on your seatlet, strap on your headgear, tie a belt around your arm, and get ready to shoot up the greatest drug the 80s ever gave us. Matthew Modine. Let's do it. What's up, fellers? We have everybody but Jordan here tonight, right?
Yeah.
We waited. We tried.
I thought he was bringing Modine. Never quite happened. We're just not big enough, and he's too busy. But let's go from east to west and say, I do love Lunatic Fringe in this movie. The 80s song that gets you going, or your favorite 80s band.
Oh, man, I gotta go first? Oh, crap.
And it can be peak 80s. It can start in the 70s, but their peak was in the 80s. I don't care.
Okay, this is Brett from Fort Wayne, talking really slow because I can't think of a band.
Googling bands 80s. It's like on trivia.
I don't know, Phil Collins? I don't know.
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia Collins.
Collins.
Pre-Tarzan.
Yeah. Deep cuts.
Peak Phil.
Peak Phil.
Maybe I'll have something better by the time you're all done. I can't think of anything right now.
No 80s hair bands you like or anything?
I used to like Journey a lot, but I got really worn out on them.
Oh, no one ever gets worn out of Journey, Brett.
I've never heard that before.
Very.
Interesting.
But I'm kind of back on the Journey train lately, so...
Journey's pretty gaudy to like long term. To be honest, they're tough.
Maybe REO Speedwagon or Styx or
Ooh,
something?
Styx is solid.
I'm with Brett. My mom had a best of Journey CD, and we played it on a road
It's
trip
so
in
good.
about 30 minutes, and I was like, okay.
But yeah,
I'm ready for that.
I used to listen to it all the time, and I can't even do it anymore.
His voice only goes so far. It can be money, but
His voice is amazing. It's just...
In this movie, I feel like it hits all the right notes.
it is. And this isn't one of their most played out songs
No.
either. I think I might be most
Hit it,
next
Josh.
east, though,
Hit it.
Also, yeah, this is Josh from Goshen, Indiana. I lived 5.5 years in the 80s, so like I kind of remember the music, and like honestly, the 80s didn't seem like a decade to just listen through a whole album. Like you just got to listen to all these one-hit wonders like Tears for Fears and Aha.
Hey, you leave
and
Tears
stuff
for
like
Fears
that.
alone, man. They have a great best of.
I love Tears for Fears, but I don't know. Like, I did Google 80s bands, and nothing's really striking me. Like, the top one listed is like Guns N' Roses, and like, whoa.
I love
Maybe
Prince,
the
by
80s
the
weren't
way.
that great.
Prince is my answer.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, thanks,
yeah.
Brett. You stole my answer.
Well-
Jesus.
Mikey, are you next?
You had your chance.
Good choice.
I like the Police too.
I don't think I've listened to too much of the Police. Yeah, Mikey recording from Goshen, Indiana. I don't know, just a one-off song.
Or an album, or
Take
a
on
band
Me.
as a whole.
Take on Me. Take on Me is always like I listen to it all the time if it comes on.
Classic.
I love that song. But as a band, I like the Smiths. They're a pretty nice 80s band. Not everybody, I guess, has heard too many of their songs. They got some really popular songs, but a lot of their stuff not too many people know about. But they're nice. It's like a nice, sweet sounding band, not like crazy synths and guitars and stuff.
Man, just looking at all these bands that I love.
A lot of drummers got fired during the 80s.
I love 80s U2 as well.
Plus, electric
A lot of electric
drums is just so
drums,
tacky
and
sounding.
I feel like a lot of people were let go. I think
A lot of one-armed drummers.
Hey,
No,
man.
just one.
Def Leppard.
Just one.
Def is the shit.
He made
Def
it work.
is the shit. Pap, what's up?
I like Def Leppard.
All right, well, before Brett felt the need to interject like his fourth 80s band there, I was going to say Prince and the Revolution. And I'm with Josh. Like, there's a lot of, like, singles from the 80s that I like. Like, if you have, like, now that's what I call 80s, I'm sure it's great. But, like, Purple Rain has got to be the best album of the 80s, and every single song on there freaking slaps.
I like 80s U2, and I think Joshua Tree is an amazing album as well. So, sorry, not sorry.
I think Graceland from Paul Simon's also in the 80s, and that's a pretty great album.
Wasn't Queen active in the 80s too?
Yeah, they were number 1 on this list I just saw for best 80s bands.
Yeah, according to Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie Mercury got AIDS right at the beginning of the 80s and then recorded all of his greatest hits.
He powered
Guys,
through.
Came to
it.
him.
I've got it. All right, Vision Quest.
Got what?
What?
That's what he
Brett,
says.
what do you
That's
got?
what he says to his band.
Oh, I thought you were like having this like awesome thought, like guys.
No,
Yeah, I thought
no.
there was some like
Yeah, I
ultimate
thought you were
80s
like
band
gonna
they
throw it
hadn't
down.
named
Everybody's like,
yet.
"Oh shit, you're right." Nope. Okay.
No,
Well,
just doing my Freddie Mercury from the movie.
there's so many
Smooth transition, Brett.
Yep.
super
Smooth
smooth.
Criminal.
Vision Quest. Just start screaming the name of the movie.
Oh, there are so many one-hit wonders in the '80s. But I mean, if I just had to pick an album, I mean, it's cheap of me, but I think "Number of the Beast" by Iron Maiden is my favorite '80s album of all time. That's just me. But let's take a deep dive into the reason why we're here, into Vision Quest. We have Matthew Modine playing Loudon Swain. Pap, what kind of guy is Loudon? Especially with a name like that. It's not like his name is Jerry Lewis. It's a pretty odd name.
Yeah, Loudon Swain to me seems kind of like, I don't know, a very upstanding fellow, almost like a Mormon guy. Like, I don't know, he's very focused
He's
on what
not
he's
very
doing.
Mormon later on.
No, definitely not. And he talks
Or
about
is
how
he?
he drank some. Yeah, it's true. But I mean, he seems to be very focused on what he's doing. He's a second-year wrestler. He was an outstanding athlete his first year. He's also extremely intelligent. He wants to be a space doctor. And kind of for him, wrestling is a means to an end for getting into college. And so it's his sole focus in life, basically.
Yeah, so we start off with Loudon Swain, and we start off at the wrestling practice in Spokane, Washington High School. I think it's Thompson High. And this is a pretty realistic scene of what wrestling looks like, besides for the coach wearing a singlet. Pap, I don't remember ever seeing that, did you?
No, you and I were actually wrestling partners all throughout 7th and 8th
We were
grade.
wrestling partners, and it was the
I
best.
wrestled 115 and 125
Right.
in 7th and 8th grade.
Yes, and what was I, 125 and 130?
I think so, yeah.
It was awesome.
I wrestled 168.
Did you really?
No big deal though.
Did you really?
No.
Oh, Josh.
I know nothing about wrestling.
Josh, you would have been a monster.
God, Josh beat
You
Shoot back in
are
the day.
basically built exactly like Loudon Swain. You,
Josh,
if you got ripped, you'd be just like this guy.
I was going to say, Josh, you kind of look like Matthew Modine in this movie. Like, he doesn't look like a wrestler. Like, he's got long limbs. Like,
Those are the
he's-
scary wrestlers, though. The
I
long
guess.
ones.
He looks more like a swimmer or a basketball player. or
Yeah, he's got
something.
great balance, though, so he's a great wrestler.
It's the most important thing.
I did see Josh fall off of a roof this past weekend, so I don't know about his balance.
Whoa! Don't dox me.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
You kind of like tipped off of a roof and
It's
into a
true.
pool. You happen to land in the pool.
There's a mischaracterization at best. Had a lot of fun this weekend, though.
It was a lot of fun. Well, Inspector Josh, what does Loudon do to cause kind of a controversy in the room right when this movie starts?
So, okay, like I said, I don't know much about wrestling.
Wrestling.
But they explain it pretty well. So, there's only a certain amount of spots for varsity, like any sport. And each weight class has one
It's very
varsity
Highlander.
wrestler.
There can only be one.
It's
So,
the
like,
fairest thing in
yeah.
the world.
Yeah, I think Modine is 188,
90,
which is
bro.
like
Trial by combat.
190. So it's like a fine weight, and he's good, and he almost won state. I think they said he got like third place last
He
year.
said quarterfinals.
In his
Quarterfinals.
first year.
First year of
Fourth,
wrestling.
yeah.
But then all of a sudden he gets this burr up his ass that he has to be in the 168 group because there's like a certain dude from another high school that he must fight shoot. And I don't
Fight.
know if you ever really get, like, is it just like a thing he wants to fight the baddest dude?
I think it's because
He's the boss
Shoot
battle.
never lost like a match in high school, and I think like Loudon, who I think he's one of those guys where he gets like you said, a burp up his ass to do something, and when he does it, he's going to be the absolute best at it. It's probably like why
Well, he says it right at the beginning of the movie. He said, I'm going to make my mark this year.
Yeah, so he could have.
That's why he does
it.
it.
He could have won state at 190, but I think he would have felt like empty because like there was another like badder dude on the block in 168 and shoot. And I think that's like why he really wanted to go after him.
My name's Loudon Swain. Last week I turned 18. I wasn't ready for it. I haven't done anything yet. So I made this deal with myself. This is the year I make my mark.
All right, fellas. It should be clear to all of us that we've got the makings of a championship squad this year. Yeah! As most of you know, once a week we have wrestle-offs for varsity position. Now, for you new fellas who just joined us, let me tell you, it's the fairest thing in the world. Any man who can beat the number one man at his weight class gets to wrestle varsity at that position.
But to Josh's point, like if he needs to get to college, like that's his whole thing. Like he sees his dad lose his job, like, and this is the time before you could just take out $100,000 in student loans and then get Bernie Sanders to take care of it for you. But
Take care of your loans.
this is, I mean, so like if his means to an end, I think if he won state in Washington, which is not a small state, as a second-year wrestler, that should be good enough to get a scholarship to go pre-med. Like he's being kind of a tool, even to the detriment of the team.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because it'd be better for the team, not only chemistry, because he's like pissing these dudes off,
especially his best friend.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, I didn't tell you guys this, but I'm gonna knock you out of your weight class." So it kind of leaves his other teammates scrambling. Plus, just like it's not the best for his team because I don't get the scoring completely, but I think you get as many points for winning the 190 as you do the 168, right? In a match.
Mm-hmm.
You just have more good guys spread out amongst the weight classes to win more matches,
So,
I guess.
Pat, I can't remember. Was it 3 points if you won by points and 6 if you won by a pin?
Oh God, I think
Well,
so.
he got 6 points it was definitely 6 points when he got a pin
Yeah.
in one of the wrestling meets.
But later on, because he's cutting so much weight, which is a big theme of the movie, and Matthew Modine's a really skinny dude in this movie already, but he ends up getting like these nosebleeds and gets DQ'd and costs his team a match. Not to jump too far ahead, but like he literally is hurting the team on this like ridiculous vision quest that he's going on.
Yeah, it's like Loudon's already a weird dude. And then he's like, I'm going to drop 22 pounds when I'm already pretty thick and built and go after the baddest dude in the state just because. And his best friend Cooch and Pappy, with a guy with some
Cooch.
Native American blood in you. What did you think of Cooch?
Well, first of all, I have more Native American blood in me than Cooch does, as
It's
it turns
sad.
out. But Cooch is kind of like J-Rock from Trailer Park Boys, where he thinks he's like of a different race and has to come to the realization later that his life's been a lie.
Well, I think he's just trying to identify with somebody because his home life sucks really bad.
Well, I'll say this too: is like, there are some things in this movie that I don't think hold up to a 2019 microscope. But when Cooch, the quote unquote native guy, was wearing feathers in his hair, I was kind of like, okay. But then when you find out that it's more of like him, like to your point, Brett, trying to find his identity, it's like, oh, okay, you probably would do that in the 80s. That kind of makes sense.
I also like his character because I think a weaker movie, he would have just been like an asshole throughout the whole movie, kind of a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but they become pretty good friends, and like he's definitely not a pristine character or anything, and he's kind of an asshole at times. But I don't know. I really like their friendship.
Me too.
Actually, in this movie.
That was his best friend, right?
He definitely does not know how to ride that motorcycle.
he's also a terrible actor.
Winging it.
Right, you leave
Stevie,
Jake
I thought
Ryan
they'd be-
alone.
I loved him. He's my favorite character. Well, okay, one of my favorite 30 characters, but he's a bad actor.
Stevie, I was under the impression they became friends during the course of this film.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, but they were got so close. I thought maybe they were friends.
Yeah, because it did seem like they were strangers after Matthew Modine Loudon was leaving his hotel job, and Brett Loudon's always looking for the upper edge when it comes to exercise and dropping weight.
Oh,
and he's like, there's a Me Too moment here where he's a room service delivery boy at this really nice hotel. and he walks in on a guy doing Tai Chi, and what all unfolds here, it's real awkward.
Well, he is, again, like you said, he's always looking for something to help himself. He lets it be known that he can't sleep, really. And the guy's like, oh, let me show you. And I said, Brittany made a joke about killing him, and then she said, or he's going to try to bang him. And like he comes up behind him, and he like rubs his leg, and Loudon like reacts, I mean, somewhat respectful. Like I don't know. He just
I think
like, whoa,
he grabbed
no.
full third leg.
Yeah,
I think he grabbed his nuts.
Yeah.
He did say, I turned away and I said, did he just grab him? He said, yeah, he grabbed. So I missed it a little bit, but
He runs out the room and starts doing push-ups. That's his
While
reaction.
watching the
was
room
weird.
to make sure he's not being followed.
I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a
Whoa,
man.
what is that reaction? He's trying to exercise
Getting
the
the
horn
demons
away.
out, man.
I thought he was doing cock push-ups. But then, like, the guy's like, you want to come up after your shift? And he's like, no, I don't. So, that's how that scene ends.
I don't hate this scene from like a Me Too perspective or whatever. Like, I don't think it's incredibly offensive, but this scene seems worthless to me. Of all the scenes in the movie, I can't think of a reason why this is
Is it
in it.
a way for a little exposition to talk about how he can't sleep and he's so wired all the time? He's so live
It's
wired?
so early in the movie, though. It feels like just straight comic relief, and it comes so early. Like,
That's true.
I looked at my now fiance. I'm gonna drop that in the podcast, and when I was like, "What the fuck was that scene? That was so weird."
And I guess
I don't
if
get
they
it.
wanted to show that he couldn't sleep, it would have taken like a 8-second scene where he's like rolling around in bed. I mean, and then he wakes up. So then he gets up for school.
He talks about it later. He can't sleep because his boners. It's already
I think it kind of
established.
fits though. Like, there's only two themes in this movie. One is wrestling, the
There's
other
sex.
is sex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's obviously feeling some sort of way because he's doing an intense amount of push-ups before he's hopping onto that elevator, which is a weird reaction. I don't know. I think he's kind of bi in this movie, honestly. And I think this is like the first movie I've ever seen anything like that, where they kind of discuss this guy's sexuality, because he makes some points about the black teacher too. It's like, I'd date that guy if I was a girl.
and not to jump too far ahead, too. Like when he's with his lady who comes in later in the movie, and they're visiting his grandpa, he's very concerned that being a virgin makes him seem, to use his word, queer. And that's, I think he's kind of afraid of maybe embracing that side of him. That's a really good point, Mikey.
To bring up his lady friend, Pap, how do we meet the lady friend? Played by Linda Fiorentino.
Who is she in Men in Black? She's like the
She
new
becomes
recruit.
mortuary.
The morgue lady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so she's really attractive, and she's 21, and Matthew Modine's 18, and I guess like she had bought some kind of like lemon junk car from a dealership that his dad, Matthew Modine's dad, works at, and Matthew Modine's dad punched out the salesman who sold her the car. Is that kind of what happened? I had a hard time kind of following that whole exchange.
I had a hard time following that too.
Yeah. You kind of jump in at the end of the whole scuffle, but the dad has already punched the salesman or something, and she's pissed and walking away from the situation.
And Matthew Modine gets the idea after he takes her to buy a cheeseburger that, hey, she should come live with us.
Yeah.
Dad, please, it'd be nice having her around. Total stranger.
I'll get another job. Don't worry.
No, it's not that. It's her. She doesn't have any transportation or any place to stay or anything, and I was wondering, maybe we could ask her to stay with us. Just till you fix the car or whatever.
I'll say this though. This is total like teenage boy wish fulfillment, right? Like
This is a fantasy.
yeah, this is like the kind of thing that could never actually happen. But like you meet this beautiful woman who your dad rescued, and then she comes to live with you. It's just so ridiculous.
Well, one thing, the dad is like 80 years old. He's way too old to be the dad to
That's why the
Loudon.
wife
And
left
the other
him.
thing is, the other thing
Why
is
you gotta
Loudon
talk
is like,
about it? You proud of it?
Loudon already looks 35 years old in this movie. So it's like, can this young lady move in with this 35-year-old man and his 80-year-old dad?
First of all, the only thing about this movie that I didn't like is it didn't have enough Ronnie Cox. I love Ronnie Cox. That's the dad. And he's probably not as old as
Two
he
Movie
looks.
Club.
Two Movie Club?
RoboCop?
He's in RoboCop. Yep.
He's the bad
We
guy.
also
in
get the
RoboCop.
scene where she's kind of like in a wife beater with like no bra or something.
It's the
and
first time
she's
you see her.
she's telling like this crowd of dudes, "Did you get a good look?" Like she is feisty from the very start.
Yeah, she's a very stereotypical girl from across the tracks or whatever, like 80s.
There's another weird line too, exploring Matthew Modine's sexuality in this film,
girl.
where he's like, she has all the parts of a woman that I love and all the parts of a man that I love, or something like that. Yeah,
He does say
like,
that.
Is he
Very
bi?
interesting line.
No, I think that's more of a... I don't want to say that.
Oh.
The movie's better if he's bi. I'll put it that
I don't
way.
think... I never got that at all, but... I think it's just like guys like to hang out with other guys, but they also like girls. I mean, I've heard guys say...
Do you think because like she acts
Never
like a
mind.
dude but has the parts of a woman, it made it okay?
Yes, that's exactly what I think he's talking about.
Okay.
Probably.
That makes more sense then, I guess. But, Mikey, Loudon is really trying to cut weight here, and it's really taking an effect on his life. What's going down?
He's not eating anything. I don't think we ever see him eat anything. He like drinks some water and stuff, but
600 calories a day, which is crazy.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
terrible.
and then he's wearing this disgusting
Spacesuit?
tracksuit, yeah, that just seals in all the flavor.
That
So
he
he's
smells.
just sweating constantly.
It's better than the trash bags I've seen actual wrestlers wear.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then he's working out and running to and from work and home constantly, and he's just trying to drop those pounds, man. And then he's also like we said, bleeding from his nose a lot now
I was
because
saying
he's just low on nutrients or something. He's dying, basically.
early in the movie, you do see him like working out a little more, but I feel like it gets to the point where it's just shown through him not eating while other people are eating.
And bleeding.
Yeah.
But is there any truth to that whole nosebleed thing? Does anybody know? Science hold up?
He's scientist Steve. Right here.
I've never... Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that was a thing.
He
He
mentions
says,
like
he
iron
says nitrogen.
I thought he
Iron-
said iron
iron,
deficiency.
yeah.
I mean, that
Low iron.
Yeah.
That gives you boners for life.
kind of makes sense to me, so...
Yeah, but I kind of wanted to bring this up. Brett, you said your wife did not care for this movie because it was unrealistic and cheesy, right?
Among other things, yeah.
Was Hotel Cook Elmo not one of the best characters in this movie because of how realistic he was?
No, I liked him. He looks like a guy who tried to keep a front for this guy, but he seemed a little beat down, and you really get that. That's like some people might think that scene where he's talking about Pela, not to jump
We'll
too far
get
ahead,
there.
but it's such a good scene. Like it shows him that he feels kind of like he wasted his life, and he like gets super pumped that other people are out there and can do that. So yeah, no, he was cool. He was a cool character.
The only thing I'll say about Elmo is there's no way that cigarette smoking, hotel kitchen working dude
no
can
way.
like, take down Matthew Modine in an arm wrestling contest, or even make it that close as it is. Like that's just so ridiculous.
I feel like he was letting him stick around, but who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows?
Stick around.
But Matthew Modine's
Stick around.
fainting at school. He's writing papers about the clitoris for some odd reason. I feel like they really hop around with his personality. It's like, I want to be a doctor. Well, I want to be an OBGYN. Well, I'm going to be a reporter. I'm going to write about the clitoris. Like, why were they doing that?
Well, wait, Stevie, do you remember why he wanted to be an OBGYN?
Yes.
Why, Pap?
Go ahead, Brett.
He wanted to look in there and find out what women have that, what was it, like hold power over men or him or something? Something ridiculous.
He wanted to solve his mommy issues by looking at other women's vaginas for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loudon's got to work through some things.
Yeah.
He really does.
Being OBGYN is probably not the best route.
Are you proud of it?
I haven't heard the word clitoris that many times since that one South Park episode.
Oh,
it was like
yeah.
ridiculous in this movie.
The clitoris,
Clitoris. Remember Josh superimposed in the back with his, it was great editing by Pap. Clitoris.
When his dad comes down in the basement and is like, son, you're going to be late for school. What are you working on there?
The clitoris.
Just writing this paper about the clitoris. And he's like, oh, good Lord.
It's just like the penis, Pa.
Aren't you going to be late for school, son?
I'm working on my article for the school paper.
What part of the body are you taking on this time?
Clitoris.
It's kind of a female thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's homologous with a male penis.
Ooh, another bi clue.
Ooh, very much so.
I like it.
Speaking of doing work, though, Loudon's coach is really frustrated with him that he's feigning. He doesn't think it's healthy. He thinks he's losing more muscle mass, and that's actually healthy. And he's too low of body fat. Josh, what does he do to prove everyone wrong that he can wrestle at 168, even though it has nothing to do with wrestling?
I love that scene.
Mulan.
Dude, straight Mulan. Mulan went real Vision Quest.
We had these pegs at Concord High School back in the day, but he walks out in the middle of practice after getting this talking to by his coach. And he does like the pegs where you have to it's kind of like a pull-up and move them in these pegs
You can't
up
miss
and up
one.
and up. Your legs are just hanging, and like the whole group comes around him, and like the whole team is cheering him on. And it's so funny because like he completes it and jumps down, and the coach is literally like, "You can do whatever you want now."
I love Otto's reaction. Like, he's super mad.
He
But,
went
like, Otto
from the
can't even-
enemy
he
to
goes-
his friend.
He's like, "You go for it, babe."
Go for it, babe.
Is he bi?
No, I just love how pumped he got all of a sudden. Like when Otto turned good, I was like, I love that.
I was listening to an interview with Matthew Modine, and he's like, yeah, so the first time I went to do that, I had so much adrenaline, I literally shot up the pegboard, and it was the easiest thing in the world. So apparently the director made him do it 5 times, and like the 5th take is what we see with him struggling to get up the pegboard, because it really wasn't that hard for him to do at that point.
Yeah, it's doing pull-ups would be harder than climbing up that thing, I guess. I mean,
I don't know. That seems pretty hard, but
It does seem tough, but
Not for peak Modine
No.
in the 80s.
Is this a good
it's a
chance
cool scene, though.
to bring up just kind of like the sets too? Because as that reminded me of Concord High School, so did a lot of the scoreboards. And granted, mine was a lot in the context of basketball, but the way the crowds are situated, and it looks like they shot in real high school gyms, and that brought a lot of nostalgia to me.
A lot of wood.
Not only that, Josh, like, I mean, you shoot stuff for a living. Did you appreciate, like, there's a lot of, like, really short scenes where they're, like, they'll go to Shoots High School for, like, one shot to see him, like, carrying a log up the thing. Like,
so glorious.
I love that.
yeah. It didn't seem very efficient from a filmmaking perspective, but it's pretty brave.
When Josh and I were in high school, like we had kids that like put chalk up on like the scoreboard. That's like because we didn't have electricity back then.
There was a
Old-timey
man
scoreboard.
living inside the scoreboard that was manually.
That would
It was like Wrigley Field in there.
That would scratch the score into the ground with his hooves.
We used
Or just slap this
we
goat
used
on the ass.
hieroglyphs.
A goat would chew a pattern in the grass of the score.
Hey there, fella, throw the ball.
Take all day.
Those are better times.
There is kind of like this weird B story in this movie, though, that it's like this weird triangle they try to push between Loudon,
Yes.
his English teacher, and Linda Fiorentino. Mikey, what's up with that?
Well, it's a love triangle because everybody's buying this movie.
Ooh.
Loudon is in love with his Carla, the girl who's living in his house, and he's also in love with his English teacher. He respects him so much. He thinks he's the coolest guy. And he happens to see Carla and
Tannerin.
his teacher, Tannerin.
Tannerin at a fancy dinner.
Yeah, at a restaurant or a hotel, like having a drink, and it looks like they're on a date. Maybe they might have hooked up, but Matthew Modine is pretty pissed, and he runs away. And then he kind of is passive-aggressive towards these two people in his life.
More so than that, what Pappy says, out-of-place scene in the entire movie. He's real mad at Carla at this point. Can't think straight, can't eat.
Ooh.
Hormones are in haywire.
Yeah.
What goes down,
Oof.
Pap?
Why me?
Because we talked about it earlier.
Yeah, after all that goes down, Carla's like waiting for him in his now basement lair of a bedroom, his pap den, if you will. And he kind of, man, I don't want to use the R word because I don't think it was actually that. It felt to me more like a horned up teenager trying to make an aggressive move, and she rejects it. But that is not something you'll see in a movie anytime from 2019 on ever again.
Just light sexual battery.
Jeez, Brett.
Man,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
know.
not good.
It
It was
yeah.
of its time.
He freaks out and edges the line between kind of grabbing her and being violent, but she actually gets a shot in on his face.
She hits him.
He does, like, he like completely lost it. Like, I think that's kind of how they explain it away. Like, I mean, it's very out of character for him. Obviously, he's also calorie and sleep
food
deprived. Yeah, I
deprived.
mean, I think obviously it's not
Shoot
right. It's not
deprived.
right, but, you know,
Mhm.
I think they explain it away that he's not like a right mind.
The fact that she forgives him like so quickly.
instantly.
Well, he does
Yeah.
scream at her as she's leaving. I'm sorry, okay? It's all forgiven.
Pete Modine.
Sorry, okay?
I don't understand why Carla doesn't get this dude some lotion and be like, dude,
Take care of that.
you don't have to live with a boner and ejaculate in your sleep.
Yeah, he has nocturnal emissions all the time. It's like, does this dude not just jerk off?
No.
He's an athlete.
trying to
He's a
drop
scholar
weight.
athlete.
200 calories
He's
a
a-
pop.
Pap, you know he's a scholar athlete Mormon. You know they don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, after this scene, things are kind of falling apart. Matthew Modine Loudon goes to Cooch's house where he sees him getting slapped around by his alcoholic dad, and it's a pretty sad scene. He was like, "You're worthless," and Cooch is like, "I know, Pa."
I say this is a great scene though. Like it adds so
It's
much
sad.
depth to Cooch's character, but it makes so much sense. Like the movie doesn't.
getting really
I like
slapped.
the time when we spend like learning about the teammates. I think that's like good use of time capital in this movie.
Also, like, why is Matthew Modine never with the team? I always feel like the team's like always together, and he's always running in late to like join the bus or come into locker rooms.
He's a terrible teammate.
Awful teammate. Terrible teammate, but Matthew Modine sees Cooch getting slapped around. That's when he was like, "I'm not a native." And Matthew Modine kind of gives this look like, "Yeah, we know." But
Well, he also, Matthew Modine's olive branch is like, hey, you might get beat by your dad, but I got caught sniffing panties, so we're equal.
or my mom left my dad years ago.
J Rock's mom's like, well, I slept with lots of black guys back in the day. And then J Rock smiles all big.
I love J-Rock.
It's a deep Trailer Park Boys reference.
Can't understand what you're saying.
Not saying? But, so Loudon gets to the really first match we've seen in this movie competitive with him, and it's more than an hour into the film, and that's when he has to forfeit because nosebleeds keep popping up because he's unhealthy as fuck, and his coach pulls him.
And they lose, like I said earlier, they lose the whole match because he's the
Because of
last
him.
one to go. Yeah.
And also, Pap, you and I both know he would not be the last to go.
Well, I think in high school it's randomly drawn, but even still, it's a huge coincidence that
Every time.
yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
possible the
so-
rules are different in Spokane and maybe like the 168 weight class is on a pedestal or something?
I don't know.
I mean, are you saying that the rules are different in high school wrestling than they were in my junior high wrestling experience? Very possible.
Very possible.
It just as someone who doesn't know wrestling, that's just how I interpreted the lore of this movie. Like the 168 is the badass class, so they would go last, but
Yeah, I mean, like, especially, like, nowadays, I think, like, when you get in between, like, 165 and, like, 190, that's where, like, all the badass dudes wrestle. And it's certainly the most competitive, so I could definitely see that.
Well, can we say this about Shoot? He is not 168. There's no fucking
Unless
way.
he's short.
168.
Because he is
Oh,
jacked.
yeah, unless he's very small.
Pap, you know this, though. There are those guys that, like, fit their weight class really well, and then there's those guys that don't, like Matthew Modine. It's like, if Shoot was 168, he is all muscle 168.
Yeah.
There's that shot where he's carrying the log up the stadium stairs, and you can only see him from the torso up. And
He's an easy 205.
I'm like, I'm seeing 168 pounds of flesh just from his torso up, not counting his legs.
He
Like,
has
there's no
boulders for
fucking
thighs.
way he's
His
168.
arms are bigger than my head. That guy's huge.
Yeah, he
He
was
has
a
a
monster.
no
little
way.
tiny wiener, though. Makes up a lot of poundage there.
No, he's not, because when they show him in a singlet, he's all dick.
Pronounced pouch, Josh. He's legit pronounced
It's
pouch.
literally a dick in a singlet with two huge arms.
Like, back in the wrestling days, there was those dudes where you're like, Jesus Christ. Anywho,
let's,
so
move
Loudon
on.
is a terrible teammate, and this is the one line that threw me. This is when Loudon's life is still falling apart, and his dad is like, "You should take a break and go see your grandpa out in the country." And
It's the last thing I want to do, Dad.
Yeah, Dad. This is where Loudon tries putting the move, just speaking like a moron in front of Carla. And it's the weirdest thing in the world. Josh, you know what part I'm talking about? Where there's a line where it's like, they really should go into more depth where were cops involved? But is this like a tragedy in Spokane? You know what part I'm talking about?
Well, to rewind for a second before we get to there, I love how the dad is like, you go check on my dad, your grandpa, because I'm too busy with this one job interview. Meanwhile, his kid is traveling around the state tournament in school, pulling a job on the side. Bro, bad dad. But anyway, going back to your question.
Yeah, where did Loudon get his work ethic? Where?
What?
That was all his mom.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
Gang rape.
Yeah, there's this scene where Loudon's like,
Gang bang.
do you know what I'm talking
Gang
about,
bang.
Josh?
Yeah.
It should have been the tragedy of Spokane.
Did he say the sister? Okay, I'll set it up, I guess. But
Yeah.
he was telling Carla how he's a virgin, being all vulnerable, and he's like, I had a chance to get laid, and you think he's gonna say this girl was coming on to him, but he just wasn't feeling it. No, it's that 5 of them in 8th grade were taking turns with one of the 8th graders' sisters.
Oh my god.
Super sad and messed up, and I couldn't tell if he said she was or wasn't crazy about it, and
I think he
It
said
gave me
she
some
was.
weird
I think she
feelings.
was. I think it was probably
I think
her
she
idea.
was crazy about it, but
How does Carla not say, okay, shut up and take me home? I don't want to hear this awful story. Why are you saying this?
was Cooch there? What was going on? It was. That's
okay.
such a dark line.
It is a dark line, but let's give the film the benefit of the doubt. Let's say the filmmaker knew that was a fucked up thing to have in the movie. And Stevie, for you, does that kind of explain his fucked up sense of sexuality?
Of
you know
what
I mean?
sex is.
That would be really messed up. That would really affect a person, I think.
That would probably dig deeper into his background. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I get what you're saying with that, Pap. It does kind of fit the context of the film. It's just a very messed up line to throw in there and never revisit again.
True. Yeah.
yeah, Carla's appropriate reaction should have been calling up a therapist, probably.
Yeah. You need to talk to someone.
This is Dr.
I've only known
So-and-so.
you for 4 days, and it was a mistake to stay in your house. I need to get out of your house.
Sorry, okay?
Yeah, so they get to his grandpa's, and his grandpa's, a real...
It's the South Bend Shovel Slayer, man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, was that the
What?
dude from Home
Yes,
Alone?
it is.
It's the dude from Home Alone.
Oh. I was looking at him, and I was like, that's gotta be him. That's gotta be him. I'm so glad you said that, Brett.
Yep.
So... Oh, were you gonna say, Brett?
No, I was just saying. Yeah, I looked at it. I go, that's the guy from Home Alone, isn't it? I haven't seen Home Alone in a while, but the voice sounded the same. He's about 5 years younger, so it's kind of hard to tell. But
This is when Loudon is like, Grandpa, come back, live with us. And he's like, you city folks, stay where you are. I got my guns and my freedom. No government will take that away.
staunch.
Where are they at? They're in Washington?
They're in
Is
Washington.
he across the border in Canada? Where is he
There's
at?
not a lot of staunch places around that area, so I don't know where he was.
This is a weird way for the movie to try to just explain why Loudon is like he is. It's because his grandpa is really like hard-willed.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're getting at. Like his.
Where did his dad get his work ethic?
They say his dad says that he takes after his grandpa, but yeah, it's a really weird. It's pretty much just so they can have sex, right, Stevie? Is that the whole reason they go out to the woods?
Where do they stop the first time?
Okay, so it's a really weird transition because like they're walking out in like the Prairie Woods Lake, Staunch Town, wherever that is, and they start making out, and there's this immediate like fade, like quick transition into the car, into the truck, and he's eating pizza, and Loudon's like, they're right, it does make you hungrier. And you're like, okay, but what happened? Does like kissing make you hungry?
That's what like Brittany said. Did they do it?
Did it go
they had
down?
To have done it.
No, they didn't.
Oh hell yeah!
Yes, they did because then he said
he asked if I'm
pretty good at
good.
that, right? Yeah.
And she laughs in his face.
I think it was some over the jeans stuff.
I think they did it for sure.
They definitely P&V
But I
raw
want to know
dog.
where. Like, where were they?
Where though? In Papa's house with all the guns?
I think we're getting two scenes conflated
in the
here.
pickup, baby.
There's a night where they're on their way to Grandpa's,
but where
and
did
they
they
camp
stay?
out.
Okay, they're just camping out. Okay, that's
They
why I was
just camp
confused.
out, and that's when they do not do anything. They're
They
like
do
kind of
it.
mad at.
That's
the
when
end
they
of
have
the
that talk.
Yeah.
No, they definitely do
where
it.
she should have left.
No,
Not
They do it
then.
at the camp?
On the way back. No,
On
on
the
the
way
way
back.
back, there's a shot where they're like in a field or something, and they're talking, and then they like go down in the weeds.
Exactly.
And literally the next like smash cut to them in the truck, and we're supposed to assume I think that they.
Oh yeah,
had
yeah.
done
You're
the
right.
deed.
You're right.
Then why was it so climactic when they go like Top Gun like sex scene?
because they wanted to do it again.
I thought that was the first one.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure because he says all the hints like, oh, I guess it does make you hungry, and I was pretty good, wasn't I, or whatever. And she like loves it, and they're like their sexual chemistry, like their sexual energy is all gone. Like their dynamic
it's pretty
is changed.
Point Break at this point. Yeah, it's pretty Swayze Reeves like chemistry full blown at this point. And they have sex again, and I thought that was the first one, so I totally misread that scene.
So what in your guys' mind is the turning point for her to start liking him? Because early in the movie, she describes him as a stepbrother. She's clearly older and wizened. She doesn't buy into the high school sports stuff like a college-age person wouldn't. Like, what happens here?
Is it just that he's vulnerable and tells her about that night in 8th grade? That was my only guess.
I think she just, I don't know. I think she liked him the whole time. Maybe not the whole time.
I think she saw a stressed out young man that just needed some release in his life.
What were you thinking, Mikey?
I don't know. I was going to make a joke. Like, once she saw the grandpa, she's like, oh, this guy could age pretty well.
Yeah.
We'll jump his bones now.
Yep.
She started to kind of, I don't know, she watched this first wrestling match that you just talked about, Stevie, which kind of reminded me of like Fast and Furious. Like, the girl just likes the dude who wins.
Yeah, I guess, but...
Anyway, you can continue on the plot. I'm sorry.
I think she's liked him the whole time, but also he's a kid in high school, so she's like, I'm not going to fuck around with this kid in high school.
Maybe she was asking the English teacher, what'll work on him.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's not a love story. They don't end up together. They just kind of bang and she leaves. Like, she doesn't even necessarily like
Oh my god, it's
him.
beautiful.
Yeah, this is
It's the
like
perfect story.
all things are lost, Pap. What goes down post-coitus? Because he's ready to give up on the Vision Quest.
Yeah, post-coitus, he's ready to retire from wrestling. He's like, okay, I found my new passion. And,
Sex!
Fuck being a space doctor. Fuck being a wrestler. I'm just going to have sex. But she kind of like doesn't want him to give up on his dreams, and she makes him promise that no matter what, he'll make the weight and show up. And then she leaves him, basically. And he's totally broadsided by this, right?
Yeah, he's, really frantic about it. He doesn't want to wrestle anymore. And this is when he goes to Fry Cook Elmo's place. One of the best parts of the whole movie. Brett, cue it up.
So, like, he goes in there, and he's like, they said you didn't go into work. He's like, yeah, I got the night off. He's like, why? He's like...
He lives at the hotel.
Oh, because
Pretty sweet hookup.
And he's like,
Pretty sweet
I'm
hookup.
going to your wrestling match, and blah blah blah. He's trying to get him to be like, what? Why'd you do that? You're going to get in trouble. You need the money. And he's like, there's more important things than money. And then he launches into this story about how he's watching one of those the Mexican channels or whatever he said, and he saw.
Whoa, Brett.
That's what he says.
That's what he says.
All right.
Would Telemundo or Univision make you feel better? I don't know if either one of those were around back then.
Univision, I'll take it. Univision, I'll take
But
it.
he's watching Pele play soccer, and he just was awed by everything he did. And he said something like,
He did a bicycle
like
kick.
he started bawling because, bicycle kick. That's what I said to Brittany. I just did a bicycle kick. And just like, it made him feel better that there were people out there like that he couldn't believe that they were in the same species of people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
For that little time, he like elevated everyone who watched him.
Yep.
Is kind of what he's getting
He was
at.
like, there
yeah.
are people that are like just trying to get by in life like me, you know, and just for that 1 minute, I felt better. You know what I
Yep.
mean? He felt better because Pele did the bicycle kick and achieved greatness that he never would.
It's unironically really beautiful, this scene. I don't know if anybody else like feels that way, but I thought it was
I got a little
freaking
teary-eyed.
fantastic. Yeah.
it's a good scene. I really
Well,
enjoyed
it's
that.
real. Sports are the most important of the least important things. Everybody loves sports.
Definitely. I've never heard that before. That's really good.
Well said.
I love
Well,
that
it's
money.
true. I mean, just that I experienced that with that Liverpool win a couple months ago. It's insane. It's like brings tear to your eyes how
Yeah, we were
how
yuckied off
crazy
for that.
that moment is. It's just everybody was going nuts. So yeah, everybody loves sports like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's cool that he's going to go see his own coworker to go compete in this.
He's putting on a tie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's
He's getting
to go
dressed
sit in a
up for
sweaty
this.
school gym. He's
Yeah.
going a little all out.
And he lives
Josh,
in a,
were you going to say something?
Go ahead, Pat. It's all good.
I was gonna say he lives in a total pap den, and a night off of pay like really means a lot to someone who lives in conditions like that. But go ahead, Josh.
The squalor den?
Yeah.
I saw a lot of the movie Hoosiers, which is a favorite of mine in this movie, and Elmo's kind of playing like the Dennis Hopper character, kind of.
Which came first?
This
Ooh.
by like 8 years.
No.
Okay.
Wait.
Hoosiers is first.
I thought
Hoosiers is
Hoosiers- I thought
1986.
Hoosiers was 89.
No,
Well,
then they're right.
86.
This is first
Right?
then.
so. We saw
One
a lot
year.
of Vision Quest in Hoosiers.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Hoosiers like 10 times. That's my first time with Vision Quest, but they're just a year apart, actually, so
Yeah,
that's pretty
85 and
crazy.
86. That's, yeah.
They had a lot of the same beats, which I wasn't like complaining about, but did you guys see that? Like the Dennis Hopper kind of character, like former athlete, kind of blew it.
Without the alcoholism and storming the court, yeah. It would have been sad if Elmo like got on the mat and was like trying to punch Shoot. Just little stuff like that. But yeah, so Loudon's really doubting it. Here comes weigh-in time. Jake Ryan, also Cooch, really saves the day by picking kind of a fight with Shoot for winning by default because Loudon's not showing up. And that's when Loudon shows up and just gets buck naked. And he's like, well, first he's over with clothes on. He's like, you're over, son. Let me recalibrate it. And that's when he just goes, all right, time to show pouch and all.
He like breathes out as hard as he can to get the air out
I
of his
love that line
lungs.
by Cooch when he's
Think
like,
light,
think,
bro.
think light, bro. Think light.
Think light.
It's so awesome.
A
And
lot of tidy whities in that scene.
I doubt he recalibrated it. It would take a lot longer than that, but he checked it.
It was the only underwear available at the time back then.
Low sperm counts.
very low
If he's
sperm
over by a
counts.
couple pounds, will they give him a chance to like go into a stall and puke, pick his
Usually,
boogers,
they usually give
jack
it like an
off,
hour. They usually give
piss,
it like an
poop?
hour, but like I'm
Hey,
guessing since
hold
he was
on.
so late.
I wasn't done saying all the things he could do to lose
puke.
weight.
Yep, good.
Take out his earwax, pick his boogers, jack off, poop, pee, trim his hairs,
Cut his toenails.
cut off 1 pound of flesh.
Bikini wax.
Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Shave his head.
Shave his gooch.
Typically, we weighed in the morning, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. It was like right before school, we'd go and weigh
Mhm.
in. But And
the other team would be there too?
No.
Or
no, they'd weigh in at their own school.
Mountain Junior High.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember things. But anyway, Loudon's making way. He's in the locker room again by himself because he's a terrible teammate. And that's when Carla shows up and gives him somewhat of a pep talk, I guess, and explains why she ran out. I don't know, but that kicks us into the best part of the whole movie.
Hold on a second.
I'm getting jacked.
Josh, it's late, man. I got work.
I can't let Carla breeze by like that, though. She's like, I didn't mean to hurt you by leaving you just like your mom did.
Oof.
Oops.
Oh,
wow, Carla.
That hurt me.
Yeah, and Stevie, don't rush this podcast. It's our one chance to do Vision Quest. You
That's
have work
true.
I'm getting
plenty of
geeked
days
up
of
for
your
this
life.
next scene, Stevie.
I'll say this though: is this not irresponsible? You guys all played sports. If your ex came to you in the locker room minutes before the biggest athletic contest of your life,
No thanks.
It would screw with me so
no
much.
thanks.
that's so terrible.
It would
And
screw
also,
with me
she's been gone for
terribly.
like a day. It's not like she ran out. She's been gone like an afternoon.
Yeah.
And she wasn't there when Loudon came home from school
afternoon.
one day. She
Her
didn't
car
run
broke
out.
down again. Had to stay in Spokane. All right. Well, I'm glad you brought that back to us, Josh. Thank you. Now I'm queuing up Pap. Best part of the whole movie with Lunatic Fridge. What goes down?
Lunatic Fridge. Oh man,
Cue it up. Best part of the whole movie.
it's Josh mentioned Hoosiers, and there's one shot from Hoosiers which I hope Josh picks one day because I'm not gonna pick it because I hope he does, but. There's one shot from Hoosiers where Gene Hackman goes, "Welcome to Indiana high school basketball," and he opens the door to the high school gymnasium, and you see all of these little like seed guys like going crazy for Indiana high school basketball. This has like the equivalent of Washington State wrestling, I guess, where Matthew Modine's like jumping rope super fast, getting as warmed up as he possibly
Getting warm.
can. Like breaking a sweat, like getting ready, and then you hear now at 168.
So awesome.
Matthew Modine, and he comes running out, and it's just the way that the camera moves. It moves with him, like parallel
It's
as he's
awesome.
running. You see like his teammates all lined up because like that's the way you would sit too in wrestling, like everyone in like kind of like these folding chairs.
On the chairs, yeah.
You see his team, you see his coach as the shot moves on. You see like this crowd of like people who are there like supporting him here for that match. It gives me goosebumps, like legitimately a fantastic sports scene.
It's awesome.
Yeah, this soundtrack to this movie just absolutely wails. And I think it really was capped off with Red Rider's Lunatic Fringe.
Lunatic
or as we know it.
Fringe.
Lunatic Fringe! But, I mean, you have Journey. You honestly have a Don Henley, Madonna, Dio, Sammy Hagar.
Oh, we didn't talk about
Foreigner.
Madonna.
I
Madonna
mean,
just shows up in a bar
Yeah.
earlier in the movie.
crazy for you.
She's like a regular artist at the local Spokane bar in this movie.
Working for tips.
I feel like that was a thing like back in the 80s though where you could drink at bars as a high schooler. I don't know, I feel like it was way more accepted.
Maybe.
I'm just thinking like if you're Tannehill, your teacher, he's like chowing down on wings, drinking beer, and one of his students comes down and sits next to him at the bar. It's like that's got to be the worst thing in the world as a teacher.
Hey, young man.
Hey, man, I'm trying to chill. Get the fuck out of here.
Leave me the fuck alone, for real. But here is the moment we all been waiting for. And this is just a regular high school match, right? This isn't state or anything. This is just a regular high school match with shoot.
Right, that's what I was thinking the whole time. I said to Brittany, he's
Which
still
I
gonna have to. He's
appreciate
still gonna
it.
have to beat him in state.
I appreciated it though.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't.
It's not about state.
important. Exactly, it's the most important thing was just beating him.
It's the friends we made along the way.
I love Shoot as a villain too, because like he's kind of a cross between like a typical '80s like jacked up, super, crazy, steroided guy, but
There's no way he's 168.
he also
He's a Terminator.
He also kind of has like a high school kind of vulnerable, awkward, a little bit of that too.
Definitely
like,
awkward.
He's not just straight steroids. He's also kind of a high schooler. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love too. He's not really you don't ever see him do anything wrong per se, but it's like the rumors of him, like Steve, like you said in a spoiler, like he tried to fuck a fireplace or something. Like
his coach has to pull him off when he's biting people's throats.
it's so
after
high
he pins
school.
him.
That's exactly high school. Yeah, the rumors of this guy are like bigger than like he actually is.
Yeah, and what kind of a wrestler is he, Pappy? Because I feel like he was kind of a villain during this match.
He has like this illegal throw or slam, right?
Slam,
or something.
yeah.
And you see Matthew Modine's head like pounce on the mat. And you're like, Jesus Christ, that is not good for you.
Right, and like the whole time, like he slams him on the mat. And then was he throwing elbows there? I feel like there was one time where he just threw a solid elbow and cold cocked him, and the ref didn't see it.
I thought that was the first match where the guy did a false start and elbowed him.
Oh,
And then he said, "Did he get you?" And he goes, "No, he didn't even
I thought
touch me."
Shoot did it again.
Possibly.
I think Shoot knocked him in the head.
Shoot.
I think Shoot does like a legal crossface or something. I don't think Shoot does anything illegal per se,
But there is a move that they're doing at the beginning where Modine just shoots straight up and slams his face on the ground like consistently. I don't know if that's a move, an escape move, but it doesn't look like it's working in Modine's favor at all because he's taking a lot of blunt force straight to the face.
Are you talking about when he's trying to roll?
Well, it's like right at the very beginning. He's trying to shoot out from underneath Shoot. He's like trying to get out of there, and he's just like going straight up and then slamming his face down on the ground.
Yeah,
Every
I think he was
time.
trying to do a roll. Because I mean, the
It's
thing
very
I
real,
also
and it's like-
appreciated about this movie was like there wasn't like anything super acrobatic about the wrestling they actually did show, which is like 5% of the movie. It seemed pretty realistic. I mean,
It
they
looks
could have
like
gone
real body slams and stuff. Looks like everybody's taking these shots. So
they could have gone way over the top with it, which I'm happy they didn't.
It's not really glorified, right? It's kind of
Mhm.
just gritty and
It's kind of meat and potatoes for wrestling.
Yeah.
Just another day on the mat. But Matthew Modine, Loudon Swain is down. And Josh, there's only 27 seconds left in this normal high school meet. Like Brett said, he's gonna have to beat Shoot again at state. What happens
if he survives,
if he doesn't get paralyzed?
Modine is, Carla's up on the balcony. His grandpa's in the audience. Elmo's there. He's got his bloody nose thing going on. Like, it's a medical timeout. 27 seconds left.
It's a lot going
He's
on.
down by several points, and his coach is like, which I do like the coach character throughout this, even if he wore a singlet or something. But anyway, the coach
I
was
like the coach.
listen, forget about your nose, forget about everything. You just have to pin this guy. You can't like dick around anymore. So it kind of sets the scene, and I'll let somebody else take the rest of the fight.
I was actually like calling out the points like during it, and if I remember correctly, I'd have to watch it again. I don't think he needed to pin him at the end.
Yeah, he did because
He got 3 back points after getting the takedown, a reversal, an escape, a takedown. That's 3 points, and he would have gotten 3 back points for having him down for 5 seconds. I just think he would have ended up winning by like 2 points. Now you get more points for a pin. Again, I'll have to watch it again, but you get 3 points for like a long. I used to call them back points, but so I'm just telling you, I don't think he needed the pin, but it's way better that he got it.
you got to pin Shoot. You gotta.
Actually,
Pico
the
Dean needs the
team might have
pin.
needed the pin, so it could have been important.
Stevie and Pappy as wrestlers, this last like set of moves he does to win, is that
We
it?
practiced that all day
Yeah?
when we were in junior high. I'm pretty sure it's where our coach got it from.
Well, what
We had
is
a
it?
coach,
Did it
Coach
benefit
Forrest.
you?
Yeah, he hung up. Do you remember how Coach Forrest, Stevie, hung up that Vision Quest poster in the weight room? when
You
we were-
have to watch it.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
That's an odd choice to suggest for 7th and 8th graders.
You have to watch this
Yeah.
movie about clitorises soon, kids.
Like, I remember thinking, like, we were in junior high, it was like, oh, this movie's all about wrestling. And then you watch it, you're like, there's very little
wrestling.
wrestling, which
Lot
I
of
still
sex.
appreciate. But luckily, Loudon Swain gets out of this predicament that he's in where he's down and, like Brett said, has to pin Shoot, and he ends up successful. He wins. He completes his Vision Quest. Would you guys have ended this any different way?
I mean, like
That's like the big knock on this movie.
I guess
is
the
it
romantic
ends
in
too
me,
clean.
the romantic in me wanted them to like her to like be waiting for him, or for him to say that he took got a wrestling scholarship in San Francisco or Oakland or something. But it's probably ended the way it should have ended. But because like you said, someone said earlier, they weren't really going to end up together. It was kind of like a vision quest to the clitoris, and
Oh, wow.
and that
Decent.
and that just kind of like was his awakening, and then
That's spoilers.
roll credits.
I mean, Stevie, do you get anything out of the voiceover at the end? That's my only complaint, is that it ends with him being lifted up and it's like a voiceover saying, those were the most magical days of my life.
It's about the friends we made along the way.
You're probably
Yeah.
wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Record scratch.
Just beating shoot and having sex with this beautiful woman who happened to be sleeping in my house.
I think a lot about those 6 minutes of shoot and the time I spent with Carla that season. Cooch had it right. It was a vision quest. But all I ever settled for was that we're born to live and then to die, and we got to do it alone, each in his own way. And I guess that's why we ought to love those people who deserve it like there's no tomorrow. Because when you get right down to it, there isn't.
No, I have no qualms with it. I don't have no qualms. If you're going to start on a narration, you might as well end on one too. Why not? Go full circle. But do you guys have anything else to add?
well, he should have gotten with Margie. She was the hottest girl in the movie, and she was into him. So
His little friend?
yeah, the chick from Spaceballs.
Yeah, she's cute.
Only other point I have is Forrest Whitaker, 5 Movie Club.
Ah,
Oh, there's a scene where Forrest Whitaker is taping up his wrists. He's just going real hard, and he's gonna just tear off all the hair on his arm. He didn't put anything under. It's just athletic tape on bare skin. You look like an idiot. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to wrap it, but he's gonna have a hell of a time taking it off.
Major League is like one of my favorite sports movies of all time, and I didn't even recognize that. Anybody see Major League?
Yeah, of course.
Do you know Lou Brown is Cooch's dad who's beating him up?
Wait, what?
I didn't know that. I'm looking right at it. James Gammon, Cooch's dad. I love James Gammon. I feel like I recognize him anywhere, but I didn't. God, I love Lou Brown. Okay, go ahead. I figured someone would find that interesting.
I find that interesting.
That's
awesome.
a small role for him too.
Well, now that we've gone into the plot of Vision Quest, and I feel like, do you guys have anything else to add besides Lou Brown?
No.
Oh, let's do it. Let's get into the moment you guys have all been waiting for, because there's only 27 seconds left. Let's kick it over to yes or no's. George, I will start with you.
One of the things we didn't talk about that I liked was Madonna's repeated appearances. Early horny Madonna is actually a really good summation for what this movie is about and Loudon's life. This is so hard for this to come out of my mouth, but I think this is a freaking amazing movie. This is a movie that transports you to a different time and place, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And I felt like, I don't know, I really learned something about Spokane, Washington high school culture. And as lame as that sounds, like I feel like I was there for a little while in the 80s. And I don't know about Peak Modine. Like, I don't think he's the strongest part. I certainly don't think his dialogue. I don't think his dialogue is the strongest part. But like, kids are like this when you're 18, and like Alex kind of been like this his whole life. But there's people like,
whoa.
Oh, Alex, I'll bleep that out.
Name
bleep that out.
No, honestly,
Jesus.
This is honestly what people and dudes, I guess I can speak for myself, can be like when they're 18. Like, life is just crazy. You don't know what the heck you're doing. You're acting like an idiot most of the time.
You're acting like a lunatic on the fringe.
Lunatic fridge. And I give this 10.
Lunatic fridge!
I give this movie 9 lunatic fridges out of 10 lunatic fridges. That's a huge yes.
That's awesome,
This
Josh.
is not a big dumb movie. That's not how we rate things.
Podcast spoilers on Instagram is lit, by the way. I just want to say that, yes or no.
Mikey, as another person who has seen this movie, I'll kick it to you. Before we had to watch it for this.
Yeah, I love this movie. I think it has some of the best 80s music of an 80s movie that
It's a
we've
dynamite
watched so far.
album.
Yeah, I love that intro sequence when he's just running all throughout Washington and he's like running across across a bridge, and then it's just like Vision Quest and real 80s type font pops up. I love everything about this movie. There's some yikes moments, like we said, which I totally forgot about, but I think Loudon is kind of like such an interesting character, and is like kind of learning a lot about himself, and is like especially like his sexuality, which is like what you weren't exactly expecting from this movie in the first place. You thought it was going to be just a wrestling movie, but it's really not about that. That's kind of like secondary to like his whole journey of him, kind of what he considers like becoming a man is by having sex or whatever. But it's just a real interesting coming of age movie, and I like the 80s setting and the whole shoot as like this. He's basically like a boss battle, and like the only context we have of shoot is like that scene of him
boss battle
working out on the in the bleachers or whatever, just like a badass. Like it's so cool. Like that's how they set up that confrontation with shoot. So
Mikey, what about when he walks? What about when he walks into his bathroom and he's like, "You're a bleeder."
Basically,
you can't hold your mud.
Oh yeah,
hold your mud.
Sorry, Mike.
I like all of it, so I give it a yes.
Decent.
Big ol' yes dog.
Brett?
I messaged Stevie today and I said, Brittany hated this movie, and he's like, not possible. I go, but I loved it. Man.
Not possible.
She tuned out pretty early. She hated it, and she said it's supposed to be a sexual awakening movie. There weren't even any boobs in it. So.
Whoa!
You have Top Gun silhouette love scene.
But no, I really, really like this movie. I know Stop the Presses, Brett liked the movie, but Peak Modine, I actually thought his dialogue was better than anybody else's, personally. I mean, he was dumb sometimes. Sometimes it was pretty crazy, but I thought all the stories, like the A story, the B story, the C story, were all really cool. The shoot thing was amazing. You get 3 stars automatically just for that shot. I mean, guys, that shot is so amazing where he's just getting super pumped up, great. Lunatic Fringe is going on, and he busts through the doors, and it's just a raucous crowd. It's so, so good. I love this movie. Great soundtrack. Man, I'm just geeked up. I want to go wrestle somebody.
Pappy, I think it's just you.
Yeah, and I don't think I've said this since the Armageddon episode, but it bears repeating, even though it might be obvious, that what happens in a movie and what a movie's about are two different things. What happens in this movie is Matthew Modine goes and wrestles some guy who's 2 weight classes underneath him. But what this movie is about adolescence, sexual awakening, being a young man. And I'm not surprised that, like, you know, I watched this, like I said, with my fiance. She fell asleep. Brett watched this with his wife, and she didn't like it. Like, maybe it's kind of one of those things that you just had to experience, but it definitely is a very specific time in a young person's life, particularly a young man's life, and all of the hormones like going through him. So the soundtrack is great. The wrestling, even though there's only like 2 real wrestling scenes, are phenomenal. I love this movie. I'm so glad that we don't have to give it, like an X out of 10 or an X out of 100, because I actually don't, there are some even problems with it, like even some technical problems, like even some editing problems, that some of the choices don't make sense, but it's a hard yes, and a full on Matthew Modine in singlet hard yes.
Decent. I'm so happy you guys love this movie, because I adore this movie. Like, it's just one of those movies that it honestly, kind of like what you guys have been saying, it's a time capsule. It really takes you back to a time, and it's so of its time. And I mean, Matthew Modine's performance is great. And like, my favorite part, there's 2 parts of this movie that get me jacked. One is Elmo's speech, and the Lunatic Fringe is one of my, when he walks in, is one of my favorite sports scenes. It has nothing to do with sports. It's just kind of like the theatrics of the sports in general. Gets me super pumped. So this is a definite yes. I'm happy you guys enjoyed this movie. Just has nothing a whole lot to do with wrestling, but the friends we made along the way. So that was Vision Quest. I have some trivia hooked up for you guys. What's the order? Closest to.
I hosted last with Oh Brother, then The Nice Guys, I think. No, then 7.
Darjeeling was
I've heard them the
last, so was
longest.
that? But that was Josh, right?
Whoever goes last has a
Oh
distinct
Brother,
advantage.
Darjeeling,
I was nice.
Nice
I was
Guys.
7. I was 7.
or 7, then Mikey.
So yeah,
Josh, Pappy, Mikey.
me, Mikey.
So Mikey goes last.
Josh, Pappy, Brett, Mikey. Yeah.
Josh, Pappy, Brett, Mikey. Okay, this movie, by today's standards, made $35 million at the box office. Not a bad haul for a movie just about hormones out of, going haywire while trying to win state in wrestling. Anywho, we've been talking a lot about Forrest Whitaker, and man, did this guy go on a run in the 80s. He went from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, then I believe he went to Vision Quest. From Vision Quest, what was it after that? Platoon, The Color of Money, Good Morning Vietnam, and capped it off with Bloodsport. This dude was on a roll.
He was a 40-year-old man by the time Bloodsport was out. He looks so
He does
old
look,
in that.
Dude, he looks 25 years older in Bloodsport than he does in this movie.
Like, did this movie just stress him to all ungodly
Must
hell?
have. Probably Platoon, actually.
He just aged that much.
Platoon probably took a lot out of him.
All right. Out of all the movies he's either appeared in or starred in, what is the worldwide gross combined of Forrest Whitaker movies? And he's only been in 57 movies.
Only.
Credited.
Only been in
Credited.
57 movies.
I feel like he's been acting forever. I thought he'd be in more.
So all of his movies, not just his 80s movies?
All of his movies.
Oof.
Even Rogue One.
Oof. Thanks for reminding me. That's a good one. Money-wise.
Josh, batter up. Closest to.
$1 million.
Total worldwide gross of all of Forrest Whitaker's movies.
Correct, Amundo.
I'll just set the bar at 600 million.
600.
2 billion.
600 mil. Pappy says 2 bills.
That's really good. I mean,
Brea.
Rogue One had to make close to $1 billion itself, right?
No.
No?
Jesus, Stevie.
Talk a little more.
You've given Brett 2 key clues.
Oh, man. I'll go 1.99 billion.
Why?
I don't know.
I feel like that's such a weird way.
Wait, 1 million
All
under
the-
Pappy?
No, you picked it.
All right. Mikey, batter up.
1 billion.
Guys,
Man,
forgot
I feel
about
like-
Black Panther.
You guys forgot about
Oh,
Black Panther.
dang.
Oh.
I was thinking he only had one big movie. Man.
Forgot about that.
Adjusted for inflation, he hauled in $3,975,000,000 at the
But
box
that's not
office.
what...
that?
You said it. You didn't say adjusted for inflation.
Brett, that wouldn't have mattered.
Sure it does.
I think that comes out to like 600 million, roughly.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Not adjusted.
Exact. Black
You're
Panther
not
made
adjusted at
$600
all.
million.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
What does that say about our economy? My God.
Good lord. Pappy, you are the winner.
Air quotes.
Yes.
Oh my lord. Anywho, should we kick it over to spoilers, man, and let Pap pick on a movie?
Yeah.
Alright, take it away, spoilers, man.
Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit.
And we're back, and before I kick it to Pappy, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the band Fever Beam, who has an awesome song called Young Guns, much like the movie that we spoiled. It is incredible. Check them out. Pappy, what do you got?
You guys, I feel like the movies we've been doing lately are just too good. We've been doing too good of movies on spoilers. And
I agree.
I need to pick
Vision Quest is the apex of those picks.
one of the most notoriously terrible movies
The
of all
Godfather.
time. We're
no.
I'll
doing
kill
The
you.
Room on spoilers.
You're tearing me apart.
Oh,
Hi, doggy.
with Brie Larson?
You're my favorite.
No,
No,
customer.
that's
not
Room.
Room.
The Room.
The
with,
Room.
Oh,
Oh, Academy Award-winning film, The Room.
Hi,
Oh,
Mark.
hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
oh gosh.
well, I'm
Well,
gonna have to buy that Blu-ray. That might take a while
Criterion
to get to
Collection,
me.
The Room.
I heard Tommy specifically withholds the Blu-rays himself and delivers them out one by one, so it takes a while.
It's gonna be a fun pod.
well, if you've made it this far, just remember, it's not about the podcast. It's about the friends you've made along the way and the vision quest that you've achieved. Thank you for listening. Hope you had fun. That was Spoilers.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hey, don't forget.
And we're back.
Wait, can you toss? Make sure you mention the song, Young Gun song, Fever Bean.
I was going to do that at the end, Josh.
No, do it right now, because we'll play it in the background when we come back.
Alright, what's the song called again? Young Guns?
Yep.
Actually, when I do the and we're back, just hop in, Josh. Make it
You know,
better.
Pat
this
would have
than I
won
am.
anyway,
No,
but
come on.
the inflation added $1.1 billion, so...
Brad, give it up. You
No,
lost.
I
Let
said,
it
I said
go.
Pat won anyway.
Thank you.
Find a new slant.
The colors are normal.
I'm just saying, it's
All right.
trick race. I don't like it. Oh, I know what Pappy's picking.
Can I just hit it right and we're back?
Yep.
Okay, 3,
Are
2...
you gonna throw it to the clip, the song?
Yeah, but I was going to do like a backstory first. Just
Okay,
say if you're into the
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
Young Guns, there's a great song called Young Guns played by the band Fever Dream. Check them out.
Do it.
Fever Bean.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
That was Spoilers.